And now the 419 with Gretchen DeBacker, Matt Killam, and Kevin Mullen.
Welcome into the 419 powered by WGTE, presented by WeTro Wealth Management. I'm Kevin Mullen alongside
Gretchen DeBacker.
Matt Killam.
It is our surprise guest Friday edition of the 419, and it is my guest today, which I'm super excited about. We talk about here in the studio, how do we sneak the guest in so nobody can see them, and this is a rare guest where I think they could actually be sitting on the set, and I don't think that at least one of you would know.
Is that a clue?
Who they are.
Well, Matt and I have said before, we get very nervous with your guests because
you should.
We don't have any idea who they are.
Yeah.
I've done this to you guys before, where I've brought on a surprise guest that I have not met yet.
Yes.
And that was a good plan.
Yeah, this is another one of those examples that I have met this individual.
Just someone from the building that was here.
That's right.
But you also bring on people that are too smart for us, and then we don't
That's
know.
not his fault.
That will likely be the case again today.
Yeah, that's this case every guest.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Hey, I talked yesterday about my wife's grandparents.
Yes.
And I have to correct something. First of all,
Thank you.
They've been married 68 years, not 70.
Yep. We have a standard here for journalism.
That's right. I want to make sure I get that right. Also, I mentioned that Grandma Moose and Poppy are the kindest human beings in the world. That is fact.
Sure.
So I want to make sure
Don't change
that
that.
is fact.
Yep.
In fact, so much so that they got gifts for you guys.
Oh my gosh.
And so I know for our radio listeners,
trend of demanding
we're gonna
gifts is paying off.
yeah, we're gonna have to
Across the board.
You'll have to describe what you're opening. But I'm delivering gifts to both of you from Poppy.
Oh my gosh, that's so nice. It's a printout 8.5 by 11 photo of, I think this is our first show.
That's right. So this is.
And
so
I have
Gretchen,
a chalkboard that says, "I'll see you in hell."
Yeah. But yeah, so Gretchen, you got a photo.
I got a photo of our first show.
The first
Very
show.
nice. And that's a good outfit I had on that day.
You look great that day.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
What, Matt?
And I have a picture of an eagle.
He took that photo.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Catching a
That's
fish.
took that photo at Farnsworth.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, that's
yeah.
so
Yeah,
cool.
one of my top 3 parks.
So
Look at those talons.
Yeah.
he is an incredible
on the eagle too.
photographer.
This is an amazing shot.
That is an amazing
Please
shot.
thank well, they'll
Yes.
be watching.
They're watching.
Thank you very much. We love these.
Yeah, this is so kind.
And then if you had any doubts that my daughter comes from my wife's side of the family, my daughter also made a gift for the show.
Goodness
Okay.
gracious.
And so she
is that?
painted symbols of each of us.
Yeah.
This is perfect.
It was surprisingly
canvas.
difficult. Yeah,
Yeah.
So she got the bow tie for me.
Yep.
She got the Metro Parks hat for Matt. And then she was like, "What do I do for Gretchen?" And I was
like,
like, "I don't know. How
That
about
looks
a,
like
how
an
about a
earring.
necklace?"
A necklace. Okay, good.
Yep. So
And it says 419 with 419. I love it. And then she signed the back, Juliet Mullen, and put the date.
So cute.
Perfect. We're going to put this, does she know we're going to put this on the bookshelf?
she wants it on the bookshelf.
Perfect.
Yeah, I bet she does.
Yep.
I love it.
And well deserved.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
Thanks, Juliet.
I love the excitement that certainly we talked about our families and kind of excitement for the new show. And so when she started working on that, I was like, "Oh, this is fantastic."
Our families are much more subdued
Yeah.
in their enthusiasm to the point that it's non-existent.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my family's great. Yeah. So all right. So we're gonna take a break here. When we come back on the other side, we have my first of 2 surprise guests today. There is a theme. There is a connection between the 2 individuals. But the first one, I will just leave you with. I met them briefly at Sip Coffee.
Okay.
We're ready.
We'll be back with my surprise guest here on a Friday edition of the 419.
Support for the 419 comes from WeTro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at WeTroAdvisors.com.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and veteran journalist Jerry Anderson, The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back into the 419. It's our Friday Mystery Guest Edition, where one of us invites on somebody that the other two don't know who it is yet. And this is my week to bring on the guest. This is one of those rare moments where I actually also don't know this individual very well.
Okay.
I've certainly read quite a bit about them.
All right.
I saw them at SIP a couple of weeks ago, and
Well, at least we know they like good coffee.
they've got good tasting coffee.
Right.
Sure.
And so made a point of stopping over to say hello, introduce myself. They are originally from Maumee. Played football at Ohio State.
Okay.
Joined the coaching ranks, and was recently brought back home, named as the new head coach
All right.
at the University of Toledo.
Wow.
Please welcome head football coach Mike Jacobs. Coach.
Good morning.
Coach,
Good morning.
what a
How are
pleasure.
y'all?
Absolutely.
Hi. How are you?
Gretchen,
Good to see
nice
you.
to see you.
Coach,
Hi. Good to see you.
thanks for being here.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Gretchen usually has a mental breakdown when people have to get onto this chair,
Yes.
but we.
I was warned to tread lightly. I don't know if it was because of my size or because of the chair.
No, it's the
but
chair and it's terrifying.
How are y'all this morning?
Man,
Good.
this is exciting.
Yeah,
It's so good
I'm
to
happy
have
to
you.
be here. Yeah, it's great to be here.
A chance to come back home, obviously. So let's talk about kind of childhood. Grew up in Maumee.
Absolutely. Yeah, right there over by the original Fort Miami Elementary School, and just down from like Indian Hills. There used to be like a Coral Hamburger on the corner there, but yeah, that's right where I grew up in Maumee. We moved, my dad was a college coach for about 40 years, and about halfway through, he spent 15 seasons under Don Nealon at West Virginia.
Okay.
About halfway through that time, my folks split up, and my mother's from the area, so we moved back, and from second grade on in Maumee Public Schools.
How about that?
So.
I imagine grew up going to Toledo football games and.
We did, yeah. Really all of it, and just being on campus and around, and had a number of friends that went to the medical college and all that kind of stuff. So,
who were some of the early coaches that influenced you and your playing style, coaching style? Because obviously, I mean, you had a successful. You don't go to Ohio State without being a standout athlete.
Sure. I mean, it all starts with my dad. I mean, I have a passion for sports, a passion for football because of the way I watched his players interact with him and how they built him up and how they looked at him, and or at least how I perceived it to be.
Yeah, sure.
And he worked for, Don Nealon was a legendary coach.
Absolutely.
And Coach Nealon always made me feel a certain type of way when I was a coach's kid in the building. We were always welcome. And so, really those two to start. And then, I played for Hal LaFontaine at Maumee, and Hal was a tremendous coach and a great leader. And, from there, just rolled it right into college.
In order to have that sort of career, everyone talks about it now, I think. Certainly Gretchen does because she's a big football fan. But attention to detail separates professionalism. I'm always curious, what was your house like? Is everything in its place? Was your dad meticulous?
My dad was meticulous.
Sure.
It just everything needed to have a spot. I'm very much that way, very A-type.
Sure.
Things are very orderly. If they're not, I get a little sideways. But you have to, especially now. There's so much more that goes into it all.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, and so it's good to be organized. I spent part of my coaching journey as doing some football operations work, as well as under the category as other duties as assigned when you work at the lower levels. And I think that really, that piece of it really set me up for what we're dealing with now with the portal and rev share and all those things.
I mean, there's so many translations to football and corporate life and structure, right? I mean, you're the CEO of this business, But I tell young people when they're looking at taking a job or an internship, and they're like, "Do I want to go to a big company or a small company?" And the answer is yes, because you get different experiences, right? So you're at the big company, you see different things. You're at the small company, you talk about being in the smaller programs, you get a chance to do a little bit of everything.
We did, and it's really what helped me be well-rounded. I think if you had asked the 22-year-old version of myself that had just got done playing and knew I wanted to go into college football, I got an opportunity to be a graduate assistant at Eastern Michigan. That was actually my first job shortly after I got done playing, which they're hard to get, right? At the time, there was only one on each side of the ball. There was only 17 teams at the time. So, there's one offensive GA, and I happened to get it at Eastern Michigan. I'm forever grateful, but I would have thought I would have always been in Division I, and my journey took a route and took a path after a while. I spent some time in a Division III school. I spent a number of years then in the Division II landscape, and to that point, just there's not much I haven't done as part of the program, whether it's laundry, whether it's vacuuming, putting table skirts on for recruiting visits, shoveling snow and salting. I mean, going to pick up the pallets of Gatorade or Powerade. I mean, we've kind of done it all as we've built it out, and I think there's no task that I'm not, I'm willing to do whatever. And I think
what did you study at Ohio State? What was your backup plan?
I'm curious about that.
I didn't have a great backup plan. It was I had sport and leisure studies was the major with an emphasis in coaching. It's a Bachelor of Science in Education. I think had I not gone the coaching route, it still would have ended up most likely in education or sales. A number of my friends ended up in the kind of the Cardinal Health space or in device sales.
Yeah.
So.
Do you remember, let's go back to your, obviously recruiting for college has changed today than certainly when you were recruited, but I'm always fascinated by that process. If you remember what that was like as a high school student starting to have college coaches show up in Maumee and show interest in you, what that journey was like.
We had a run of some really fantastic football players, guys that were a few years ahead of me. Matt LeVar was a linebacker that ended up going on to Ohio State. And then Jim Harding, who's was an All-American at Toledo, is now the offensive line coach at Michigan, was just a year older than me. So there have been people through the building. I'd obviously grown up around it, but mine was different. I'm not the tallest guy, right? I'm an offensive lineman. My dad taught me early on, knowing that he was 5'8" and my mom was about 5'4", that I needed to have a skill. I needed to. So
technique.
He taught me how to long snap, and that was kind of my bus ticket. So I had some much bigger opportunities, Big Ten type opportunities to just go long snap. I looked at a number.
Gretchen, long snapper.
Talk
to us a little bit about
it means when you snap for a really long time.
Yeah, it's elongated.
Yeah, it's
that's
elongated.
Right.
That's what you mean snapping your
like
fingers.
this.
Yeah, that's right. It's a musical theater.
Really capable of
when you're doing a dance move. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, I have zero rhythm, so it won't be that.
But you're continue.
So he taught me how to long snap. So it was different, right? Like there was a number of MAC opportunities, but I looked at a number of the Division III schools. Both my parents were Wittenberg graduates, and so kind of looked at all. The great thing about the state of Ohio is there's 8 Division I programs. There's I think 9 Division II programs. There's a plethora of Division III. So there's really all levels, and we weren't afraid to look at all of them and just try to find the right fit. Ultimately, walking on at Ohio State, having an opportunity to play for my dad who had transitioned onto John Cooper's staff was something that I felt was really important and was just special. And had it not worked out, I could transfer down and go to Mount Union or Baldwin-Wallace or something along those lines. And but it did work out, and had a great experience at Ohio State, and I think it set me up to get into the coaching world.
So hobbies other than football? Did you fish? Do you?
No, I'm. Listen, I love the water. Actually, one of my stops was Lenore-Rhine, which is a Division II program in Hickory, North Carolina, right at the foot of the Blue Hills or Blue Ridge Mountains, and we lived on the lake there. So I'm a leisure boater.
Sure, all right.
But I enjoy the water.
Education. Right?
That's right. It's leisure. But I like the boat. I love the water. Really, just spending time with my family. We do enjoy golf. And really just, we get so little time. It's really with them. I have two young boys.
How old are the boys?
The boys are 9 and 6.
Okay, those are great ages.
Oh, it's awesome. It's a lot of fun right now.
And what about your nuclear family? Do you have any other siblings that are in
athletics? No one that's really in athletics. For what's crazy is, so I have one brother My brother Cody actually is in LA, and he went to school at Columbia in Chicago. He's a cinematographer, so does lighting and films for shoots for TVs and movies and all that kind of stuff.
Is he able to propel anything from long distances between his legs?
He is not. No. He did play high school football.
Then he's nothing. Then.
That's right.
He pales in comparison.
That's right. Yeah. So, but he got into it. So he's kind of an equally crazy business, just in different ways. But so he's in LA, and then my mother's still here. She just recently retired. She used to work for the county, for Lucas County, and she retired this year.
How many years did she have?
I think 34.
How about that?
So finally at 70, I won't mention her age.
That's right. We'll edit it out. Yeah, that's right. No problem.
There's so many pieces of this journey back to Toledo that I want to dive into, but I'm curious that first phone call from, I'm assuming Brian Blair, kind of saying, hey, are you interested in coming home? Talk to me through that, kind of how that process played out.
Sure. As it started to look like Jason may take or have other opportunities as he's had as the winningest coach in Toledo history, this is kind of something I've had my eye on, and it was kind of when, right? A lot of people have known, like I think he's interviewed for a few things over the years, and once he kind of got over that hump and was the all-time winningest coach, I thought this may be the season that it would roll. And Brian reached out, and certainly mutual interest on both sides, I think, and for me, I mean, just I hold Toledo on a pedestal. I understand what this program is. I understand what this city is. I understand the importance of Toledo football to the city of Toledo, and to have just even the consideration for the opportunity to be the head coach was something that was really special for me.
I'm interested in how that just sort of all works. Like, how do you? I'm assuming you have an agent.
Yes, ma'am.
They sort of put feelers out to figure out each season as coaches and other staff are moving around?
They do, and a lot of these things run through, there's a handful of really large search firms that handle a lot of these, whether in sports specific to the head coaching searches or athletic director searches.
Our agent doesn't do athletics.
But they handle that, and so they'll prospect some folks, they'll present them to the athletic directors who are in search, and then they also are tasked then with getting in contact with our agents and our people, and we set up meetings in and around kind of what we're doing. The last thing I ever want to do is disturb what I'm doing where I'm at. Right?
Yeah,
right,
sure.
Right.
I'm somewhat familiar with this, which is probably generous, but you have an inventory of people that are all of your contacts, right? And you must have, my guess is, thousands of people in your phone. At the risk of putting you on the spot, do you have a mentor? Do you have 5 people in your contact list that you win or loss that you connect with or get advice from? If you don't mind sharing. I know
no, that's all right. I really, so my dad's passed away.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. It's been 16 years now, but Bill Legg is a gentleman that was an All-American for my dad at West Virginia. He got into the coaching world, spent the last few years at Minnesota, but he actually, I spent some time on Joe Tiller's staff. Joe Tiller's a Toledo guy. A lot of people don't realize that. And so Billy was how I got hired under Joe Tiller. But he's a guy I speak to, somebody that's in the business, somebody that's been through some things. I still talk to John Luckhart, who's a college football Hall of Famer. John was the head coach at California University of Pennsylvania when I was an assistant there. And then I still hear from Coach Tressel. I mean, I get a text usually either Thursday or Friday from Coach Tressel, and then usually Saturday afterwards. And it's crazy, his connection. I don't think I could ever be a quarter of as good as he is with people. But like, I got a package in the mail, and my wife was like, "What is all this?" And I started opening it up, and it was a legal sheet, and it had my goals for my senior year at Ohio State in 2001, and they sent them to me. So just the depth of which he has, and I mean, here we are.
How had you done?
Okay. Being a college coach, like I checked a fair amount of them off.
You can just check them yourself.
I was a little bit of an attaboy, but
I'll just make some adjustments to this myself.
Pretty good.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If that goal sheet, like everything was off, right? That's a real jerk move from Jim
probably wouldn't
Tressel
have sent
to say.
him. You probably wouldn't have sent him if that was the case.
I just want you to know you didn't get anything right.
Sure. Like, and that told you so. But
that's how I was parenting.
But those are the people. Bill Legg, really, and again, I hear from Tress, and then certainly my family. Like, I think the big thing in this business is we are people, win, lose, or draw. Like, we're always unfortunately tied to the outcome more often than the process, unfortunately. And it's important for me to just go home and decompress with my family. You'll see, you'll hear me talking about and see me on social media with the bros on the bus. Like my boys will ride the bus home with me for most of the games.
Yeah.
That's just some time that I
God,
get to
I bet they
steal
love
with
that.
them. They do,
Yeah.
right?
And you
so,
got to do that to some degree, I imagine.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And just travel like bowl trips because my dad was a little bit higher level than I had been up until this point. And so, but yeah, that coaches unit, that coaches family. I mean, I still talk to a lot of the kids that were a part of that West Virginia staff for so long.
Sure.
I get at a very different degree, right? But I get a little bit of that with Toledo being the PA announcer for football and basketball, and my kids love hanging out. My son just this year sat next to me during a women's basketball game while I was announcing.
Yeah.
And he just asked me. He was like, "Hey, can I do that again?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, we'll talk about it."
That's
right?
how like my girls get to play on playgrounds that millions of people get to play on. So it's very similar.
But the difference
But it's special
is,
access.
That's right. Yeah.
you-
It's a real exclusive access.
The difference
to,
is you know the person who built it.
That's
the
right.
difference.
That's
man.
right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
That's the difference. I want to go to break. We're going to come back and talk a little bit about the current team, kind of what your goals for the university are, and kind of look ahead to the season that's coming up here in the fall. But I want to talk. We talked about family, and I want to give you a minute, kind of talk about. You talked about your boys. The video of you guys walking out the tunnel onto the field the first time.
Yeah.
Talk to me about kind of what was going through your mind and family.
I mean, just again, I sit in that office and it's surreal, right? Like the fact that it's not just about the football and the players. You look at the coaching lineage here and what has transpired.
Absolutely.
And Dan Simmerl was once the head coach here, and Simmy was a family friend because when he left Toledo, he went to West Virginia. He was on the staff there. So like he would come home to Toledo to see his family, and then I would ride back to Morgantown with him. So like just the depth of the connections for me, and to sit in that office and look out over the glass board, to walk out that day with my boys, and kind of have that moment it'll be forever ingrained.
Yep.
We're talking with Mike Jacobs, the brand new head coach at the University of Toledo. When we come back, we'll start talking about this upcoming season and see if we can update that goal sheet a little bit.
That's
it's
right.
the 419, powered by WGTE.
To me, community means connecting to others.
What will it really take to bring peace to Toledo's neighborhoods?
We're a community committed to education. Discover new ideas, dive into exciting subjects, and engage with the world around you.
It's all chapters in a book.
I would send them personally a t-shirt. Crime doesn't pay in the Old West End, pass it on. That's how we cleaned up the neighborhood.
Brings back memories that you don't think are there,
WGTE Public Media invites you to Get Out and Play Day.
The people of Toledo have really become family. They walk in and it's just like, hey, it's so good to see you.
Hello there and welcome to a WGTE Public Media Town Hall meeting.
WGTE, where you come to watch, listen, and learn.
I love PBS Kids.
Welcome back into the 419. It's our Friday Mystery Guest Edition, and we're joined by my mystery guest, the head coach at the University of Toledo football, Mike Jacobs. Coach, we talked about the comparisons between football and kind of corporate business life, right? You're the CEO of this business. At least in my experience, when you interview for a job, right, you want to know, do I like the work? Do I like the boss? Do I like my coworkers? This is unique in that in the world of college athletics today, it doesn't matter how much you like your coworkers, that can really change in an instant. And I think as it relates to both coaching staff and even players, you've really had to sort of start from a relatively blank canvas.
We have, yeah. And I mean, for all the success that Toledo's had over the last, couple decades, right, and certainly under Matt Campbell and Jason, it's really the first full building reset in a while. And so, although it can be nerve-wracking, I think the benefit that you get is that, I kind of uniquely know Toledo, and in a good way. And then there's a number of my staff that have come with me. I think we brought 7 of the gentlemen that were with me at Mercer, as well as our strength and conditioning coach. And then we've added some really talented coaches that left sitting head coaching positions, and those are almost impossible to get. So, for guys like Chris Reiser, who's our offensive coordinator, he had been the head coach at Tiffin down the road, and then had gone on to Gardner-Webb, and then Corey Allen was the head coach at Findlay most recently. And so to kind of blend our 2 staffs and to get guys to leave those type of positions, I think it speaks volumes to what we know Toledo football can be.
What is, after deciding to take the call or take the position, what is the first box that needs to be checked? Take the personal and family part of it aside. Was there one? Who was your first call when you're assembling your empire?
And please, we haven't done anything yet. Although I suppose we're still undefeated at this
You're
point,
on this show, Coach. This is the highlight of your career.
Listen, it starts internally, right? Like I have a leadership group within my team that have been with me, and I think it speaks volumes because they're talented coaches, but I've somehow managed to have pretty strong staff continuity. And so Jamal Brown's my defense coordinator. He's going into, I think, his 9th season with me. Sean Chafee's our linebacker coach. He's 9 seasons in. It's like a lifetime achievement award to put up with me for that long. But there's a number. So it starts with that leadership group and some of the coordinators, and then as you watch guys and they develop on your staff, you can see that they can handle it in different regions of the country, and we've done it all over, right? I started off as a head coach at Notre Dame College in Cleveland, which is now closed, and it was an all-girls school. So that path was unique to Lenore Ryan that had been playing football for over 100 years, to Mercer that had a pause in the program for 75 years. Had only been back for 13 years when I took it over.
Didn't know that.
And so, we've gotten these things, and in most instances, I took over a pretty solid situation, and we were able to kind of go from good to great, and that's really what I feel like is happening, and what our goal is here with Toledo.
Well, and you've had tremendous success as a head coach. I was looking at some of the stats, and the reality is numbers are numbers, and it doesn't matter what your background has been. I assure you, Toledo football fans will judge you week to week, and last week will not matter at all if history is any indication. But interesting statistics, prior to Monday's national championship game, you were statistically ranked ahead of Curt Cignetti in all-time wins at, I think, 803. That's a percentage.
I got it.
And then I think he's now at like 805 or something like that with the win on Monday. But you've had tremendous success everywhere you've been.
We were going to have him on next, and when he took over that, we canceled him.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
Screw that guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you're our guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
But we've again, it goes back to, I believe we have a process. I believe the process works. It starts with getting the right kids in the building. Starts with doing a really fantastic job at evaluating talent and projecting kids, and then developing them once they're there for however long they're there now is the reality of it.
How much have you had to adjust your thinking and planning and recruiting based on all the NIL stuff? And is the funds that are available at UT part of the consideration for taking this job? It's so much a part of your job.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm uniquely qualified. I think what a lot of folks don't understand is really when the House settlement came into play a year ago, and teams could either opt in or opt out. Once you opted in, we went from a 1-for-1 where there was 85 scholarships and it was all or nothing. You were on a full ride or nothing at all, to equivalencies, which is what some of the smaller sports have been on, right? Well, we've been doing that at the lower level that's what we've done. And really what it was you had to look at your roster, you had to evaluate a recruit, you had to place a dollar amount on them. I was just using scholarship dollars as opposed to rev share, and really manage almost like a salary cap. And so I find myself to be uniquely prepared for the rev share world, because it's really what we've been doing. And it very much mimics the NFL, right? Like, you have to have a quarterback, they got to be really well paid. And then for me, it starts at the line of scrimmage, and we build things inside out similar to home. The foundation's got to be the line of scrimmage, the offensive and defensive line, and really right up the middle of those groups. And then you got to find some playmakers and get the ball
What are
in their
you
hands.
looking forward to working with, or looking forward to your relationship with the athletic director, Bryan Blair?
Yeah, I think Brian and I thought it was, the alignment of the administration is such an important piece. You ask how big did rev share play? It's a massive piece. If you don't have it, you won't have an opportunity to get the right guys in. Now you still got to coach them, you still got to develop them, but you also need enough to get them in the door. And Toledo's been really well situated, and that's because Brian and our administration have done a great job thinking ahead of the game and trying to be proactive in what we're doing, and they've situated us to a point where I believe we're at the top of the MAC in that situation.
So we talked about rebuilding the coaching staff, obviously rebuilding a roster as well because of transfer portal, NIL. Talk to us about kind of what your team looks like, where we sit today, knowing that, you know, the reality is I think every 24 hours that's going to change a little bit as you continue to sign more players.
It does, yeah. And so
we
the
have
portal,
eligibility left.
Well, come on out. We're not quite there where we're having walk-on tryouts. We're in good shape.
Yeah.
So really, what it was.
Matt is a college athlete. Like I'd recommend you talk to him.
I had to be helped into this chair though this morning, so I don't know.
Retired college athlete.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So I mean, really, where we're at, right? We were going to have some attrition anyway because we had over 20 seniors. So there was going to be natural attrition at Toledo, especially on the defensive side of the football. So that side's been a little bit bigger of a rebuild. You know, and then offensively, and just like anywhere, people are tied to the people that recruit them, and they had won, and Jason had done a great job. So, you know, we had about 30 plus kids go into the portal, which, you know, and it wasn't our plan to come here and bring a bunch of Mercer guys. Our plan was to try to retain as much of the really talented roster we have and then fill spots. And, you know, it's turned in, you just look at any of these jobs that have rolled, they've all had pretty massive roster attrition. And so, you know, really what I want to focus on in this, because this is the first year where it's one portal window, right? And so it's one portal window. It's kind of at a weird time. We started school in the middle of it.
Right.
So, you know, the add drop date for Toledo is kind of our last chance at the early window, and then there'll be some chance for kids in spring that graduate and, you know, they weren't ready to leave their current institution because they were finishing where they're at. But you know, we've built it out with I put an emphasis and a priority on people who had played a bunch of football. We had a very, you know, think about high school recruiting. You evaluate a kid in his situation and who he is as a person for 2+ years. Well, the portal's a little more shoot than aim, right? And so things happen much faster. And so I really placed a high emphasis on young men who had played a lot at the school that they were coming from, regardless of level, that were all conference, that were captains, that were high academic, and try to build it out that way with talented people and players. And that's what we've done in the portal.
You know, Coach, I mean, obviously you are one of a rare breed. I mean, there are not very many people who do this on the planet, but you are a human being on a molecular level. And this potentially is an unfair question, but, you know, this is such a business and so aggressive. How do you not get wrapped up? I mean, there's disappointment, but there are feelings. You've been recruiting people for 2+ years, sometimes more. Yeah, people come and go. How on earth do you manage this on a human being level?
It does hurt.
Yeah.
It hurts a little bit less now. You become a little more callous. But I mean, I got into this for the relationships. And
yes,
so
sir.
I think if you ever lose sight of that, then it doesn't matter where the money's at in rev share. If you lose sight of the fact that it's still a person industry, then you're going to be in bad shape. But you know, it's still this way. Listen, we've been very fortunate. We signed Andrew Zock, who is a player for us. He was an All-American at Mercer. He was the National Player of the Year at the FCS level. He won what they call the Buck Buchanan Award. And you know, he tripped Toledo, he tripped Colorado, Tulane, I mean, there was Power Fours in play, and at the end of the day, we were able to, and I believe in our instance, the relationship won. And you know, the first people we're FaceTiming is with my boys, because they're like his big brother, right? And so it's there's still that element, and as long as you don't lose it, but yeah, you definitely become a little more callous.
Man, it's gotta be
some
tough.
Do, some don't. Move on.
Sure.
You got to go.
Yeah.
What do you hope people kind of see and experience when they come out, whether it's, you know, a spring game or showcase, or actually come out in the fall and cheer on the Rockets? What are people going to see?
Yeah, we want to have an identity. I think to win the MAC, I think you have to run the football and stop the run. I think to win any conference, you have to do that. And so we're going to be an outfit that's going to be highly disciplined. We're going to be one of the least penalized teams in the country. That's an area that's needed cleaned up. And if you kind of look at my track record, you know, that's what we've done. But we're going to be about the basics. I believe in the fundamentals. I believe you give time to the fundamentals. You know, a lot of people think they're John Madden because they play the video game and they want to call plays and you got to run a million plays. Like, you still have to run, block, and tackle, and you got to do that better than other people, and you got to do it with the mindset of a physicality and the demeanor of such. And I think that, you know, if people come out, we're going to play extremely hard, we're going to be highly disciplined, and we should be competitive in every single game we play, win or lose.
Very exciting.
All right, we are now going to play a little game we do here on the 419. It's Gretchen's Wacky Quiz.
Okay.
She doesn't like that name, but that's
No,
what
I
we're
don't.
sticking with.
I don't.
Just rolls off the tongue. I was saying, actually, it seems even dumber to me now with the real guys.
I know. It's really stupid.
All right, so I'm going to ask you 4 rapid fire questions. Gretchen's going to ask you for your favorite thing in the region, which, you know, as a newly returned person, I'm curious to see that answer. And then Matt will have you describe Toledo in 9 words. No pressure. All right, here we go. Rapid fire question. If you could buy any type of food right now, what would you buy?
Mexican.
Oh, man.
What's the worst gift you've ever received?
Underwear. Good and bad. That's at both ends of the spectrum.
I said I was sorry, Coach.
That was both ends of the spectrum.
You could have just returned.
It's gotten more impressive the older I've gotten.
Yeah.
If you were arrested, what would it be for?
Oh, jeez, I don't know.
Paul's having a heart attack off camera.
Speeding.
All right.
Okay.
What makes you feel nostalgic?
Being home and reconnecting with some of my dearest friends. That the unfortunate side effect of my job is that we don't get back as often as I would have liked, and to be home and be around those people is really special.
What's your number one favorite, or you consider the best thing about the Toledo or the region?
The people. I mean, honestly, like it's been a lot of fun to, you know, I kind of always peripherally watch it, but to see how much it's grown and the revitalization of downtown and just the amount of things that are happening in this city right now.
You heard it first, the park system. Thanks, Coach. All right, 9 things. Rapid fire.
Sorry.
9 things
9
or
words.
just
9
words?
words. 9 words.
Yeah.
People. I'll give you people. You got
people.
It. Yep.
All right. I gotta give you my favorite pizza spot's Village Idiot.
All right. Love it.
Okay, Maumee High School.
Maumee High School. Love it.
Penguin Palace.
Done.
Right by my house.
Penguin Palace. Doing
this
it.
reads like a food list.
That's
for
right,
me,
man.
Yeah.
But,
It's your list.
You know, I think I don't even know where am I at.
You got 5. You're doing great.
Okay.
Yeah. You got your back with your friends.
Yeah, just friends and family.
Yeah.
I think getting re-engaged in the community. So just the community nature of the job.
2 more. You're almost home. Speeding.
No, I've gone very slow.
Appropriate
right now.
speed limits. We'll give you that.
Yeah.
Appropriate.
And then
the last one.
Just the fans.
My man.
I'm excited.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Coach.
He's head coach Mike Jacobs with the University of Toledo. Coach, thank you so much.
Yeah, this is awesome. I appreciate you guys. Great to
Appreciate
meet
you.
you.
Yeah.
We'll see you around the best coffee shop
Absolutely.
in Northwest Ohio.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a good find for me early in my journey here.
That's right. If you're going to get anything right, you got to get the coffee right. Coach, thank you so much for the time.
Absolutely,
when
guys.
we come back, I said I've got 2 guests, and they are connected. We've talked to head coach Mike Jacobs. Coming up on the other side of the break, we'll talk to his new boss, the athletic director at Toledo, Bryan Blair. We'll be right back here on the 419.
Support for the 419 comes from Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at WeTroAdvisors.com.
WorkSpring. HR issues and employee well-being go hand in hand. WorkSpring supports employers through compliance, training, and wellness because healthy workplaces don't happen by accidents. Learn more at workspring.org.
Toledo Refining Company, a subsidiary of PDF Energy. Toledo Refining Company is a supplier of fuels that keep our region moving. Located in Oregon, Ohio, the refinery processes crude oil into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and other petroleum products.
And Tarda, celebrating its 55th year of connecting Northwest Ohioans to their community. More information at tarda.com.
Welcome back into the 419. It's a Friday mystery guest edition. We just wrapped up a conversation with new UT football coach Mike Jacobs. We're joined now by my second mystery guest, his new boss, athletic director Brian Blair. Brian.
I was going to say I have a guess as to who it is.
This is one of those rare moments where you've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
And you're also Kevin's boss. So how bad of an employee, in terms of your staff, is he the worst?
We're all
member?
teammates. We're all teammates, and all my teammates are incredibly talented. They make the dream work. So
now I know why you're good
are
at your
good.
job.
Yeah, absolutely.
that's what I believe that. I hate the term boss. I honestly do. Jenny Boggess does that all the time.
Yes.
She's like, "Hi, boss. How you doing?" And like I cringe every time, but it's kind of like her thing. So
Well,
I go
she's
with
so
it.
unpleasant.
Yeah. You can't be mad at her, right?
No, that's
It's impossible not to like
to
her.
me.
Yeah.
And I would say, yeah, that seems about right. Yeah.
So I'm not sure you said. Did you say athletic director?
I did.
Okay, I
That's how
don't
dialed
listen.
she is into the show.
I don't listen.
She was just so focused on trying to get you to say something bad about me.
She's a petty person.
He knows me.
Yeah, that's fair. So, all right, just folks that haven't had a chance to meet you yet. I mean, you've been in Toledo 4 years?
You're kidding me.
Really?
Yeah, how wonderful.
Yeah, it was about this time 4 years ago. I got the call from our president at the time saying, "Hey, do you want to come be a Rocket?" And I was in Pullman, Washington, sitting in my living room, my wife staring at me as I'm on the phone trying to listen in. And we cried and we hugged and then we packed and we moved. And it's been hot and heavy since then.
I bet.
So I want to talk about kind of all of the whole of the athletic department, but we just wrapped up a conversation with Coach Mike Jacobs. What was that first phone call, that first conversation with Coach that had you going, this is the guy?
You had your guy.
Yeah.
Because that's a hard. I mean, you had Jason Candle was here, incredibly successul, great coach, great human being, great family, and then obviously he had an opportunity to leave and took it. As a boss, you got to have this kind of mixed emotion of I'm excited for him, but what do I do now? And so, what was that kind of moment for you to realize, like, oh, we got our guy?
Yeah, well, super pumped for Jay. I mean, we were texting this weekend. We were talking about Miami and being in the championship and the like, and he seems to be doing well. I'm happy for him, Nicole, the kids. I mean, that was a great opportunity. He's a great person, and I think what benefited us in this process was he and I had an open enough relationship where he was able to say, hey, I think this might turn into something. Let's keep you posted. And obviously gave me a heads up, hey, this is real. Because every year he's had different groups flirt with him a little bit, but this one felt different. And so Mike has been on my list for over a year now. And I told him, we joked a little bit about it, like I e-stalked him, right? It's amazing what you can find on YouTube and the internet now to get a sense of who somebody is and listen to him. I'm sure somebody will do this about this one day.
Nope.
I mean, we just got huge, but you know what I mean? We got huge digital footprints, right?
Yeah.
And so certainly reached out with a text and introduced myself and then a follow-up conversation, and we went from there. But there was this moment we had our first Zoom conversation, and the next morning it's on the treadmill and watching videos and just thinking about, hey, we got to talk to these other candidates, we got to do all this. And at a certain point, just can't, like, why are you messing around with this? Like, if you know you've got the guy and you feel that convicted in it,
and your gut,
don't screw around with all this other and risk messing that opportunity up. And so I remember I called our president at that time and said, hey, we're going to sit down with this individual. I know we could talk to a laundry list of others in this process, and we did talk to others during this process. But if we feel strongly and you feel strongly and your feelings match mine, let's not mess around with this. And I told my crew before we walked into that room, we really flipped almost into recruit mode versus interview, right? Like you step in these interviews and you've got 30, 50 questions you want to get through and find out every nuance. But there's a lot of it is I wanted to show Mike who Toledo is and who we will be into the future and really turn into, I know you're from here, you know this place, but here's some things that have changed and here's what we're working to take this department to. And the last thing I'd say is I told Mike, like, be honest, I could care less if you're from Toledo, Ohio or not. This is not about you being from here. That's the cherry on top, but you're a damn good football coach and you've won a lot of places. I think this is the 4th different opportunity he's had as a head coach. And so you have somebody with that experience level and just his personality and why he does what he does, coach's kid and seeing and being around programs for a really long time, Midwest roots, like checked every single box down the list. And so when we got to the point of, hey, you're from me, again, cherry on top, but not the reason.
Brian, I've had the great fortune of being able to be around you in a number of different ways. And I know you're humble, so I hope that you don't answer this how I think you're going to answer it. What makes you uniquely good at this?
Yeah, you're right, because I don't think I'm very good.
It's not a survey.
Yeah.
I'm telling you you're good.
And there's enough accolades and awards and evidence to say otherwise.
I mean, I have an answer
you don't
for
have
this.
to say it.
I have an answer for this, just being around you a little bit, but I'm interested in, there are not very many of yous in the country. So it's a unique role. It's an overwhelmingly challenging role and evolving to make it even more, my words, more challenging. So what makes you wired to be this way and able to execute this multi-layered business the way that you do?
I'd say my parents.
Yeah.
My mom was a middle school principal. She is the hardest working person I've ever been around in my entire life. Every Sunday we'd go to church in the morning, and the black church in the South, you spend 3, 4, 5 hours in church, right?
Yeah.
It was a long period of
time. And a warm up to it during the week?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
yes, so there's multiple events leading up to this.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time in the church, which is good for me. The community raised me. We'd go to lunch, Sunday lunch. We'd go out dressed up and find a different restaurant. And then we'd go home, change clothes, and we'd immediately go to her school. And I'd spend 4 or 5 hours in the afternoon while she worked in her office every week trying to get ahead of the week before. I'd spend with her in those offices, and we played basketball, my brother and I. But I watched her grow. Yeah, well, now you're getting the competitor. He knows the answer.
Okay, yeah, yes, sir. We'll keep moving.
But I watched her work really, really hard. And my dad worked in the school system as well, but then was an entrepreneur in a number of different industries, right? And so I watched him manage the business side, and then that creativity. So that blend of education and hard work with the business aspects and what we're becoming, and then probably my own background as a student athlete and then going to law school, I think you pull all that together, and it gives me a diverse enough perspective to maybe handle all the things coming at us.
Yeah.
We talked a little. I made reference to the awards, but University of Toledo athletic department, in your time at the helm, has won, I think, every award available. Right, Cartwright Award. I'm going to blank on the other.
Reese and Jacoby.
Yes, thank you. Recognizing success not just of the football program or not just of the basketball program that get the media coverage and the spotlights, but the whole department. Yep. What leads to that? I mean, I know you're not going to say it's you, right? But you've got a good team. What do you think makes that
system work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many pieces of the puzzle, and it's certainly not me. I think it's a team operating together, and when you say team from my seat, right, it's not just the football team, the basketball team, the tennis team. It's everybody combined pulling in the same direction. It's our support staff, all of our units, it's our entire campus, right? I mean, Mike's talking about bringing in 30 to 50 guys. I mean, that didn't happen within athletics. That's admissions, that's enrollment, that's the FAR, I mean, the faculty athletics rep, that's the deans. It's everybody pulling the same direction. And why I came to Toledo is because there was already an existing alignment and belief in this place can be successful. There's different types of jobs, and jobs come open for different reasons, but when you come to a place like Toledo that's had success historically, that shows you there's things in the fiber of that community and the fiber of that university that are willing to do what it takes to win. Winning's not about one person.
And these are
it takes everything.
Well-rounded kids, they're student athletes, emphasis on student. I know you're proud of the high GPAs that your teams have across the athletic department. What is your commitment to them as students? What are you doing to help support them in that way?
I would argue we do a better job of that than anybody in the country. That's when I'll take the humble hat off. I've been at multiple stops. I've been around this country. The combination of high academic achievement in a major of your choosing, not the department's choosing, right? We don't have a whole bunch of undecideds that are just floating around. I mean, we've got engineers, we've got business, we've got kids teaching the MBAs, all those things. And then they're winning too. A lot of places you'll win and say, hey, don't look at our grad rates. Or you don't win and say, hey, look at our grades. We're doing really good in the classroom. They're really good. We get a chance to do both here, and I think we do that better than anybody in the country. I get that question a lot from presidents of, well, how do you do that? What does that look like? And I tell them it's the coaches, right? That's the one thing that's really hard to replicate on a college campus outside of athletics. When you've got a coach that sat in your living room or you spend so much time with, and they control playing time, right? If that coach says this is important, they pay attention to it and hold you accountable to that, then I think that leads to what you see. So when you see our coaches sit down with our academic advisors and get those regular reports and hold student athletes accountable and saying, hey, you're not playing unless you get this piece of it done. So let's talk about why this is important. I think it doubles down on the importance, and the student athletes know walking in, hey, this is important. And every coach we've hired, at some point throughout the interview, we've talked about, like, this is a non-negotiable for us. Like, this is something we do at Toledo, and all the other stuff can be all other stuff, but this piece has to remain.
We asked Coach the same question. I mean, it is lonely at the top sometimes, right? Those are my words, and certainly not yours. But your networks are vast. Are there a list, and at the risk of putting you a little bit on the spot, but do you have a go-to contact? Who do you check in with? Win, lose? Who do you bounce things off of nationally, if you don't mind sharing that?
Yeah. Well, I will agree with you. These are lonely jobs at the top, and I don't think I was the number 2 at Washington State, and I was the chief suggestion officer, right? I just made suggestions. I go home, sleep just fine.
Boy, those were the best of times.
Oh my God!
Yeah, the full head of hair.
There's days I mean, like, hey, can I go back to that spot?
Yeah.
And so when you get in this seat, you realize the pressure of each moment, each decision, and just letting go and letting people do their jobs, and just trusting and believing and hoping that they're doing it the right way with integrity. That's a big piece of this job. And so you talk about who's in my circle. I think one starts with my wife.
Yeah.
She keeps me incredibly grounded, right?
She has some notes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
She's singing ahead. Just a couple things.
Tell me all the things he needs to work on to get better.
Yeah.
But she definitely keeps me grounded and continues to keep me focused on being a great husband, but even more importantly, being a great dad. And I think that can get lost in this world that we live in. And so having somebody say, hey, pull you by the collar, hey, Bree's got gymnastics today. Get your tail here.
How'd you meet her?
We were in Columbia, South Carolina. I was working for the Gamecocks, and she was a travel nurse at the time.
Okay.
And we actually met on a dating app that I had never used before, and she was the first match. And we went out to the parking lot, and she had a kayak in the back of her truck. I had a kayak in the back of my truck. It was like, oh, we got a lot of things in common, right? And I almost screwed up. I was 20 minutes late to a first date.
Okay.
So I completely almost blundered that one, but luckily I recovered fast. I figured it out.
It fascinates me to hear that you were late.
Yeah.
To something, because that is not the Brian Blair that I know.
So I told her, like, Columbia's got a lot of trains, and I got caught behind a train. That was partially true. The other 10 minutes were home.
Honestly, buying a kayak to impress her?
I stayed at work too late. It was a Friday afternoon. I was just trying to get stuff done. I was like, I'm going to wrap up.
Sure.
And I looked up and I was like, oh, I got to get back here. And so, but she'll never let me live that down, but she's still around, so we figured it out.
How long has it been?
So we got married in 2016. We met in 2013.
I do love seeing, and obviously I can see you more at a basketball game than I can where I sit in a football game, but seeing you in the stands with your family, having those moments. You mentioned before you came on, you got a chance to go to the national championship game, and kind of a rare moment of you, sort of, treating yourself, right, kind of spoiling yourself. What do you do outside of work to decompress, to be a human, to relax, to take care of yourself?
Feel free to mention the park system.
Yeah, well, the park system is a big reason I'm in Toledo. When you go online and you look at, again, the digital footprint of different places, it's a shining star of Toledo, the Metro Park system. And as somebody that loves outdoors, that was the one thing we loved out west, going hiking and getting outdoors all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of times I take my kids fishing at one of the Metro Parks on a regular basis. And so, you can pay me after for this.
Yes, it's well worth it.
I love barbecue. I grew up in South Carolina. I spent 7.5 years in Texas. So my gift to myself for getting this job was I bought a custom smoker made down in Georgia.
Wow.
It's got 3/8 inch steel doors. It's a wood burner, so like I chop the logs, feed the fire one by one.
We haven't been invited over.
Yeah.
It's weird.
But this is legit.
Well, not this time of year, but we'll pass this summer.
Okay.
But that is it, because you can't really think about anything else when you're playing with fire, right? Like you got to kind of focus or you burn the house down. And so that's my me time, my kind of mindfulness moment of just watching the fire, looking at the airflow, those type of things.
Tell me what the biggest success is with the smoker. Is there something that you made that was the number one?
Yeah, I've gotten better at brisket. I think brisket can be incredibly challenging because each piece of meat's different and you can't really time it. My wife was like, when's it going to be done? I was like, the meat will tell you when it's done, right? You have to.
She loves that answer.
Right?
It'll speak to you.
I'm sure it goes well. But I mean, I've gotten to pull that smoker to one game a year the last 2 years, and we've done for our 1923 Society, our Leadership Giving Society, we do a cookout for them where I actually cook for them out at that tailgate, and that's one of my favorite games of the year. Just because I get to combine two things that I love.
That's really cool, Brian.
We're running out of time here, but I do want, if folks are, they've been to a football game, they've been to a basketball game, but that is just two of the many sports that are offered at the university. What's the next level? What's something they should go check out, or kind of what's something they need to know about the rest of the
future
department?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a ton of amazing student athletes, amazing coaches, amazing staff members that pour their all. They usually work 6-7 days a week, year round. People say, well, when's your downtime? We don't have it. Saturday, Sunday, we're working. And then you show up on Monday. It's not like you show up late. You show up at 8:30, and you grind till it's done. So there's a lot of people behind the scenes that pour in a lot of work to make what you see on game days possible. Kevin, you're a piece of that. I'd say come out and support all our student athletes regardless of sport. We got tennis against Oakland on Thursday afternoon. Come out and support those young ladies. We've got the top ranked team in the conference, right? Tracy has done a tremendous job recruiting. She's got a great team. But I tell people this as well. We've only scratched the surface of what Toledo athletics can be. We can be a national story where people look up and say, holy cow, did you see what Toledo did, right? We've got amazing coaches, amazing student athletes, but even more than that, this community is our superpower. We've got such amazing community members, businesses, environment, the like, fan attendance. We can take this thing to a whole new level. And so if you're somebody that says, well, I just think we're good enough, we need to stay where we're at, like hop off the train, because this train's moving and we're going places that we've never gone before, and we're going to shock the world with what we accomplish, but we got to do it together. So to me, that's what gets me fired up each morning to go into work.
Now I want to go to work.
Let's do it.
Fired up.
Let's do it. He's Vice President and Director of
Thanks,
Athletics, Bryan Blair. Bryan, thank you so much for joining us. When we come back, we'll wrap up this Friday edition of the 419.
You laughed with us. You learned with us.
Hi, neighbor.
We made sure your childhood was special. Memories that could only be provided by PBS. For generations, we've given you programs that made a difference. Programs that entertained, informed, and inspired. And today is no different. This is WGTE Public Media in Toledo. It's where you belong.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and veteran journalist Jerry Anderson. The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back into the 419, our Mystery Guest Friday edition.
Great guests today, Kevin.
Guests. Yeah, I really enjoyed getting to know. We talk about it all the time when we have guests on that we know. We get a chance to know them at a different level than we do seeing them in the community and working alongside them. But when you have somebody on like Mike Jacobs that I legitimately didn't know, I enjoyed kind of hearing some of his stories, kind of growing up and being a coach's kid and some of those things. It's kind of neat. So I'm excited about what he's going to do for the program, and excited about him being a part of Toledo football.
And also, Brian Blair is exceptional. Again, I've gotten the opportunity to meet with him on a couple occasions. We were able to work together from a Parks perspective, bringing in a women's crew team to the shores of the Maumee, the first time in University of Toledo's history. Brian is also exceptional. So the fact that he's able to bring in talent and able to juggle what has to be one of the most challenging jobs in the United States, right? He's the whole crew there is exceptional.
And I have no idea what he was doing in his office, but I can tell you that when Jason Candle took the job at UConn, we had a basketball game. Gosh, this was a basketball game that day or the next day. And it was a Saturday, and Brian's office light was on.
Sure.
Right? And I think, it was just like you could tell he was in there working and grinding and cares a lot about it and wants to make sure that they get it right. But there's that idea of like there is no off time.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that. I love that he went to the national championship game, took a chance to.
Left his kids, that wasn't on the air, but he did make mention of the fact that it was the first time, I think he said in 7 years, that they had left their children with grandparents to go. So all these things do come at a cost. So we're glad he's here, glad he took that opportunity with his wife.
Yeah, well, an incredible program. If you missed any portion of it, 3 opportunities every day to enjoy the 419, 7 a.m. on WGTE's YouTube channel, 3 p.m. on FM 91, and 6 p.m. on channel 30.4 on your TV, WGTE Connects. We appreciate you being a part of this. Thanks for joining us for the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by Wetro Wealth Management.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.